If you're looking for some fun activities to use to welcome your students back from winter break, stick around because I'm sharing 5 of my favorites. I'm Tara. I run the Teach Without Tears TPT store, and I share differentiated resources to help teachers meet the needs of all of their students. So when your students come back from winter break, they've just had about a week off at least, possibly more, and now they are coming back and they need some review of expectations and some activities to kind of ease them back in because they've just spent the last week doing whatever they wanted on their own schedule and having lots of fun. So we want to keep that fun going when they come back from winter break while still reviewing our rules and procedures to make sure that we are getting back into a smooth start for the second half of the school year. So today I'm sharing 5 of my very favorite activities to use when your students come back from winter break. So the first one is an escape room. These are fun no matter what time of year it is. Having your students solve some clues to figure out a puzzle and get a prize in this case is a great way to welcome them back. So let me tell you about my New Year's escape room, and I'll tell you about where you can get it for free. So the way this escape room works is you are going to get a box of some sort. This is just a lockbox that I got at the Dollar Tree. And inside of it, you're going to put some kind of little prize for your students. And then you're going to lock the box. You can either use locks that have a key to unlock them, or you can get number locks. The last clue in the puzzle is going to give them a number that they can use to unlock the code if it's a number lock. And then you're going to take the clues and you're going to put those in little envelopes for your students. I put my students into groups. Usually I have about 5 groups of students with about 3 or 4 students in each one. And each group is going to get 4 clues. So I put each one in a little manila envelope so I can hand them the next clue when they're ready for it. To start the activity, you are going to give your students some grouping cards, and these are based on New Year's resolutions. So your students are each going to get a card, and then they have to find the other students who have a card in the same category, like read a new book series, and then there are some different book series, so they need to find each other. Or exercise more. They need to find the other students who have a type of exercise. And it's just a fun way to form their groups. If you don't want to do it that way, you can absolutely put them in groups ahead of time so that they're able to work with other students on the activity. And then there are 4 clues that the students are going to work together to solve, and each one is New Year's themed. So they get to work together, talk about the clues. If they get stuck on a clue, I do give a hint, and if they need the hint, they get a timer for 2 minutes, and they have to wait those 2 minutes before they can keep working. And then there is also a cheat sheet for you so that you know the answers to all of the clues. The first one is going to be a little bit of math practice. The second one is going to be a puzzle where they need to figure out what each person's New Year's resolution is. The third one is going to be a little bit of a scavenger hunt around the classroom. And then the fourth one is another math activity, and the answer is going to be that secret code, which is the year. And they are going to use that to unlock the box and get their special prize. My students loved doing these unlock boxes, and every single end of math unit or every holiday, they begged to do another one. And they're just so much fun and such a great way to get your students moving and excited about the new year. You can grab that New Year Unlock the Box mystery for free if you join my brand new community. It's called the Differentiation Conversation Community, and it's a place where I'm just sharing resources, different ideas to differentiate your lessons to help you meet the needs of your students. I'm going to drop the link down below. Once you get in the community, you're going to see on the side a section for free resources, and that's where you are going to find that escape room activity if you want to use it in your classroom to welcome your students back from winter break. Also, you're going to find over there a goal setting activity that I'm not sharing here, but it walks you through the steps of having your students set some New Year goals for school. The next activity I want to share with you is an early finisher activity. This is my January Early Finisher Activities choice board, and these I use every month in my classroom because they're just a great way to keep your students engaged even when they finish their work early. There are activities for across the curriculum, so they're practicing important math skills, writing skills, reading skills, anytime that they finish work before the rest of the class. This allows you to meet with students who are still working, and it keeps those students engaged and still learning even though they're done with the activity. And each one has to do with the month that it is. So for January, there's a Martin Luther King Day activity to write about 5 important things that he did. There's a New Year's resolution one where they have to write 3 goals that they have for the new year. January 25th is opposite day. They have to write a list of 10 pairs of opposites. So it's also themed to the month. And each activity has a little activity sheet where they can do all of the work. So you can put this together either in a folder or in a packet for your students at the beginning of the month, and then they have it for the entire month to work on. And I always encourage my students to get bingo since it's also set up as a bingo board. So if they get a bingo for the month, they get a little prize at the end. And some of my students even try to fill the whole board and get blackout, and then they get a prize that's a little bit bigger. All right, so that one is going to be for your early finishers. The next one is going to be a math activity because when you come back from winter break, it's a great time to review some of the things that you did before break because your students may have forgotten things. They haven't been thinking about school quite as much as they normally do. So doing a little bit of math review is a great way to welcome them back. And it's also a fun activity to build in as you're reviewing all of those routines, procedures, making sure that you're getting back into the structure of school. So this one is differentiated. It is one of my differentiated math activities that is going to allow your students to build a snowman. And it's set up as a performance task, so there are different activities that they're going to do to work through this. So the first thing that they are going to work on is their money skills. They are going to be buying parts for a snowman, and they're going to tell how many they bought, the price per item, and then the total price. And there are 3 different levels of activity, so you are going to want to group your students into an on-level group, an above-level group, and a below-level group, so you can match them with the activities that are going to be best for them. So the lower-level group is going to have some easier money activities to work on level is going to be at grade level, and then above level is obviously going to be a little bit more challenging. So your students are going to find the total cost of their snowman in that first level, and they're also going to work on making change. They're going to tell how much change they would get once they pay for it. Level 2 is going to be a division activity. Your students are going to get a certain number of materials, and their job is to divide it up among the people who are helping to build the snowman. And then level 3 is a geometry activity, and your students are going to draw the snowman, and they have to use a certain number of each type of shape. And then they are going to do a writing extension. If they finish all 3 tasks within the performance task early, then they can work on the writing extension and tell about when their snowman comes to life. So there's also a cross-curricular connection there with that writing activity. So that's just another fun way to welcome your students back, have them practice some of those important math skills that you've learned, and also make sure that you're meeting all of their needs with those 3 different levels of activities. All right, now that we've done math, we are moving on to reading. This is another one of my students' absolute favorite things to do, and it is a reading challenge. So each month I give my students a new reading challenge, and they have to set goals for themselves, and then they have to see if they can achieve their goal. So the January reading challenge is called Curl Up with a Good Book, and your students are going to be working together to create a classroom quilt. So each time they read a book, they are going to get a little quilt square, and their job is to put their name on the quilt square, the name of the book they read, and then draw a picture of their favorite part of the book. Just as a little quick check, make sure that they have read the book, make sure that they know something that has happened in it. And when my students turn in their quilt squares, I also ask them about that picture and make sure that they're able to tell me something that happened in the story, just as a quick check to make sure that they read it. Then you're going to put all of those quilt squares together, either on a bulletin board or in the hallway. And the goal is to see how big your classroom quilt can get throughout the month of January. And you can set a whole class goal that your students have to read a certain number of books for the month, or each student needs to read a certain number of books for the month. And then at the end of the month, check in, see if they really did read that number of books. There's also a checklist to make sure that you know if your students read the number of books they were supposed to. So each time they turn in a quilt square, just check off next to their name. It's an easy way to keep track of who finished the challenge and who did not. And then at the end of the month, you can give them a special certificate for curling up with good books during the month of January, tell how many books they read, and then this was actually a whole class one. So the whole class reading goal was 120 books, and then the student helped to meet that goal. You could also make it based on individual students if you wanted to. And then I also usually have a little party or just a little treat for my students who did achieve their goal for the month. All right. Last activity, I'm actually going to show you on my computer because it is a digital activity and I want to show you how it works. So I'll do that now. The fifth activity to welcome your students back from winter break is a fun scavenger hunt. It's called Countdown to Midnight, and your students are going to learn about New Year's traditions around the world. So the first slide is going to have all of the different websites that they can use to complete the scavenger hunt. They're going to find all of the answers in one of these 4 sites, and then they're going to count down from 10. So each one has a clue about a country that celebrates the new year in a specific way. They're going to use those websites to find the country's name for each one, and then they're going to type it in the box down here. Then you are going to, once they get to 1, they are going to get a congratulations, you made it to midnight slide. And then there's also a writing activity connected to it that when they finish, they are going to write a story about one of the New Year's traditions that they think is the most interesting and how they would celebrate the new year in that country. When you do these 5 activities after winter break, your students are going to have so much fun. They're going to be so excited to be back at school. And they're also going to give you some time to review those rules and expectations before you jump right back into curriculum. So I'm going to drop the link to all of the activities down below in the description. Also, don't forget to head over and join the differentiation conversation community. That's where you're going to get the free escape room activity plus a free goal setting activity that you can do with your students. All right, I hope that your students love all of these activities, and I hope you have a wonderful start to the new year.